Okay. Hello. Yes. If you come to join me for talking, good. Hello and welcome. And I can introduce you to the monk cat, monastic cat here, because I asked some children who live nearby what her name was, and they didn't know, but on their way back, passing later, they called me out. I heard a little voice saying, "Sadhu, sadhu," because that's what they call you here. And they'd been to find out from her family, her real family, and her name is Rosie. So Rosie, say hello. So we now have a name other than my made-up name for her, Rosie. You're a very good girl. She likes meditation a lot more than talking. So she really does have the right idea. It's about practice rather than talking about practice. However, we need to discuss amongst our friends whom have this same intention towards liberation, peace of mind, freedom from suffering in this lifetime. And that is a lot of the purpose of these talks, for me to have the opportunity to share with you my own experience of the practice in monastic life and how that relates to you and what you can put into practice in your own lives, living with families, having social lives and careers, jobs, responsibilities other than your practice, but how to do those mindfully and incorporate the Dharma into all of your daily activities. Because of course this is what the Buddha taught us so well, a holistic practice for not only monks and nuns, but for laymen and lay women in a complementary and interdependent manner, some of which I've been able to share with you of late with some. They were old videos that came up, they were still on my phone from previous occasions that I incorporated, and a more recent discussion with some locals here on Dharma, on meditation, on offering. And this is part of my daily interaction with people here living in Sri Lanka. Someone commented that they were pleased to see I have an active role in society and don't just sit alone and meditate. And of course this is at the behest of the Buddha, whom instructed us, or not only instructed us, but it is part of our Vinaya rules that we live within walking distance of the nearby village. I'm just checking I've turned this microphone on, of the nearby town, in order that we can go and collect alms each morning. Also, so that people can come and offer, as you've seen, dana if they wish to generate merit, that is, doing good actions as a parami, dana parami, generosity, a quality, which assists with peace of mind, joy and happiness and well-being, and all of these things we're trying to develop. So hopefully you were able to see that and it was useful. As well as those very short interactions, actually there's a little more each day. There are live pujas in the morning that I share with anyone wanting to watch at 6 a.m. Sri Lanka time, the live chanting, meditation and blessings, all quite short, within half an hour, so easily manageable to fit into your morning. And these can be watched at any time during the day and remain on YouTube, I guess, for forevermore. I don't know how it works, but they don't have to be seen at this local time if the morning is you're in a different time zone. And of course Pindapata itself, going on alms round, I'm interacting with many people, from 30 to 40 people each and every morning, many often the same faces, and amongst those very often, well, most days, very many new faces of passers-by coming through the area, whom will stop and come and offer something when they see a monk. So there I share a short blessing, but what they see is the fourth heavenly messenger, the Buddha, was able to see, that of the samana, the monk, or in my case a bhikkhu, which just means beggar, mendicant, someone going out just seeking without asking, so not really begging, but just walking, being present. So if people feel inclined towards generosity, they can offer something. However little, in fact little is better, because there are many offering little is better than just a few offering a lot. So usually a little goes in my bowl just to support my nutritional needs for another 24 hours until I do the same again the next day. So they're my main three interactions personally with people throughout the day and with society, in addition to which there is this, of course, where I have the opportunity to share with you online a little Dharma, discuss your comments, as I'll do now, talk about the questions you've asked, and generate also from that further feedback, comments and questions for us to delve more deeply into this practice and gain not an intellectual and deep philosophical study of the complexities of the mind, but the more straightforward, simple aspects of the Dharma the Buddha taught us that we can really put into practice and use towards generating happiness, peace, calm and tranquility. And the first question or comment is, hello Bhante. In one of your talks you mentioned words phrased in a certain way. Quotes, you don't have to do anything, unquotes. And that sounds like the practice of meditation. But then you have also mentioned, quotes, you have already been everything, male, female, smart, not smart, etc., unquote. Could you please explain what it means? Well, meditation doesn't require the active doing of anything, more the activity of just sitting, allowing the body to settle so that it can naturally become relaxed with some time, and the mind also to, with a little time, settle and become calm and peaceful. And the more we practice this, the more relaxed our bodies become and our minds can be able to become calm. This is how we practice regularly meditation to generate this, develop this capacity for what we call samadhi, which is a absorption, a focus, but absorption, not so much concentration, but interest and absorption and focus on a single point, a meditation object. So it isn't a doing thing. So when I say it is just a case of sitting and doing nothing, it's no active thing other than the observation of what is going on anyway. Your breath, breathing in, breathing out. And as emotions, thoughts arise, you'll notice and see how they may hang around and then pass away. This is the observation of mental phenomena, physical phenomena, and we tend to try and focus our attention on one of these, being the breath, as being a calming influence to help the body and the mind settle. That is what I mean by doing nothing. As far as you, we, us, having already been male, female, smart or not so smart, etc., well, I'm referring there to previous lives. You will know from Buddhism we have an understanding of rebirth, not in the sense of a soul, a character, a personality, but the creation of causes and conditions for this knowingness to take this form or another form, whether it be in the human, animal or other realms mentioned in Buddhist cosmology, again and again and again. And we're trying to actually stop this cyclical event, this recycling and repetitive rebirth into what is suffering, by loosening, eventually starting by relaxing, loosening, letting go of our attachments to what is attracting us in the interim period during this lifetime, which we think is gratification, but is merely trying to satisfy what is insatiable and creating more thirst, hunger, and anxiety, emotional about that craving for more. This is what fuels rebirth. So when I'm referring to the rebirth there, saying, well, we have been this, we have been that, I'm also equating that with how many times we're reborn within this lifetime. So you've come to listen to this video, you're watching this now, and that is as a result of causes and conditions that you've put in place, just as much as I am here talking to you as a result of causes and conditions that I have put in place in the past, whether that be in this immediate past during this lifetime or previous lifetimes. It doesn't actually matter whether you accept that, understand it, believe it or not. It's okay, because we're still living in this present moment as a result of the causes and conditions we put in place in the past. So by that very nature, the likelihood is we have been all things previously, because it takes many, many rebirths, many, many lifetimes, incalculable lifetimes to come to this point where we are listening to the Dharma. Especially if we're coming from places where the Dharma isn't readily available to everybody. It isn't the religion of the land or the culture or the practice of many, but only by a few, then it may be that it's perhaps harder to discover. Something, however, drew us to it. Me, for example, coming from the UK and England and from a hedonistic background, unrelated to anything at all spiritual, was drawn to Buddhism. A long story, but now I'm here. Now, this was the result of my own actions of body, speech and mind, causes and conditions I put in place. We refer to as karma, and the results of which we refer to as vipaka. So that's what I mean when I'm referring to we have been all of these things. And then you say, but you haven't got any memory of these lives. Do I? Do you? You say to me. This is irrelevant whether we remember our previous lives, but there are things that you're able to do in this life that you haven't been taught. Some people have many skills that they're born with, that are not learned skills. For example, I mean, there are renowned composers whom were able to play musical instruments at a very early age, compose music without any teacher showing them the way. Now, one could say, well, that's just, well, what can you say other than that skill has been learned in a previous lifetime, if it certainly hasn't been in this. But to our own lives, where we can look to see evidence of this, is we are not taught these basic fundamentals of existence, of eating and enjoying certain foods and not liking others, even be it they may have equivalent nutritional value. We have our preferences. For instance, this is a good example, towards certain food types. Some of this is cultural upbringing and what we've tasted through biological interaction with our mothers in the womb and through being fed after birth. But even so, we all have different tastes, different choices, as do we with regards to whom we associate with, whom we fall in love with, who we maybe even end up marrying. These are all attachments we have that we haven't learned to let go of yet, but have been developed over many lifetimes. So here's an example. without remembering your past lives, whereby you can see clear evidence of their existence. Most things in Buddhism, as the Buddha said, you do not need to seek here and there and everywhere, going to the north, the south, the east, the west, around the globe, or to the far reaches of the universe. All things can be answered within this fathom-length body, this bag of skin and bones and horrible things, by simply sitting and observing the mind. This is meditation, and this is the best way to learn and understand the Dharma. Okay. So you are on the 1st of August, it's very specific, don't know what the date is now, you answered a question about how monks experience sickness and focused on the requisites. That is, take medicine, wait to get better. In one of your videos, could you please go into a bit more detail about the meditation aspects, especially with throat infections, sniffles, drippy noses, colds or flus that make breathing meditation harder? What parts of meditation get more challenging when you're sick? What stays the same? Do you find it limits your ability to concentrate or makes no real difference? So, one question at a time. One of specific things like sniffy noses, blocked noses, colds, respiratory difficulties, let's say, difficulties with breathing when practicing anapanasati, actually bring your attention far more to breathing. If you can only breathe through one nostril, you notice that you're only breathing through one nostril. And notice also how that changes. So your attention is actually going to naturally already be on the difficulty of breathing, which is normally an easy process. You won't die. If you have a runny nose, you may feel inclined to have to wipe your nose or something like that. But this will interrupt a little your meditation. But you can ignore that if you are able to, and it's preferable. Just keep noticing. The Buddha teaches anapanasati that we see, know the breath as deep, know the breath as shallow, short, long, coarse, refined, and so on. And this is really an observation of the breath, so we can observe it however difficult it may be. Now, if you have serious respiratory difficulties and you're very ill, you may not be inclined to meditate. Maybe some walking meditation, just walking up and down, is the obvious answer there until you feel better. Now, as far as the next part, what parts of meditation are challenging when you're sick, it depends on the pain. Pain is an intoxicant, so you can take drugs or things to alleviate pain, such as paracetamol or Nurofen, depending on the condition, and that's advisable. It's also advisable to seek medical assistance, professional medical advice to find the cause of pain and alleviate the pain by eradicating the cause. Other than that, we live through these difficult times and know that the experience of meditation is more difficult on this occasion than usual. It only highlights how pleasant the meditation experience is ordinarily. As monks, as myself, I don't find I suffer too much from common colds or ailments like that. Maybe because I'm in a hot climate, but I'm outside in a lot of fresh air, relatively healthy diet, so it hasn't been a problem for me. I have had some physical injuries, ailments, and significant discomfort on various occasions during my years of practice. But again, I've been able to bring my attention and focus to those areas of concern and make them my meditation object. So that's how we use meditation. And does it limit your ability to concentrate or make no real difference? I would say, if anything, it gives you something to focus on. Other than that, it doesn't make any difference to practice as a whole. But it may mean you might have to sit in a slightly different position. For instance, if you'd hurt your knee or your leg, you may have to sit on a chair. But for myself, it's only been a way of just altering the meditation experience by perhaps maybe not using the breath as the main focus and finding the area of discomfort something to bring my awareness to, attention to. But I must say I've been very fortunate in that those common elements you describe there are not very, I don't have them very much. Well, I can't remember ever having them, to be honest. Bhante, can you give me any reference to your acquaintance in Bodh Gaya for guidance in Buddhism, as I will be visiting Bodh Gaya soon? If you're visiting Bodh Gaya soon, don't go and bog yourself down listening to talks, reading, doing that sort of thing. You're going to the Mecca, the holy center of Buddhism in the world. Spend time at the Mahabodhi temple. It's only open sort of 12 hours a day, 6 in the morning till maybe a bit later than that, 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. Spend as much of the day there, meditating in different locations. There are little signs up teaching you all you'll need to know about the Buddha's time there. Have your focus on that. Don't go looking for a teacher. There's plenty of teachers online or where you live that can guide you in the practice, teach you about Buddhism. But if you're going to Bodh Gaya, do just that. Pay homage to the Buddha in the place of his enlightenment, and have absolutely 100% respect for that. I know it's just a physical thing, but it has so much of an atmosphere because there are so many people from all over the world coming to do just that. They're not going there to find a teacher. The teacher is the Buddha. This is where he was enlightened. You're going to sit where he sat, almost. Meditate every hour you possibly can whilst you're there, and you will get so much more benefit from that than sitting in some dusty old room with an old monk who thinks he knows best. Because even whoever it is, me, another monk, my teacher, my upacharya, my senior monk in this lineage is there, but it's fairly busy. It's a meditation centre. He won't have much time to spend with all of the visitors that come there individually, and he has his own agenda going on and responsibilities. But again, he would say, you go and practice, maybe do some chanting, but you'll see many people carrying out all kinds of devotional practice from different schools of Buddhism and traditions whilst you're there. And that is enough. Enjoy the experience. Leave all your books at home. Don't listen to things on the, I was going to say radio then, I don't mean that, the phone. Just soak in the atmosphere of Bodh Gaya. It's an opportunity that you won't get often in your life, and don't miss one aspect of it, 1 second of it. Every moment you're awake, and make sure you don't sleep too much either, every moment you're awake, spend soaking up the atmosphere around the temples there in Bodh Gaya. And also whilst you're there, visit the cave, just the other side of the river where the Buddha spent 6 years meditating, practicing the more ascetic practices, becoming emaciated before he crossed the river and became enlightened. You'll also see where Sujata gave him the milk rice and the couch grass matting to sit on, and he took his first sustenance before crossing the river and going, the literal river, not metaphorical, and going to sit under the Bodhi tree there at where is the Mahabodhi temple now in Bodh Gaya. Also, you can go to what is called Vulture's Peak, or Rajiji, I've forgotten the name of it now, Rajiji Kyle or something like that, the mountain where he taught the fire sermon. And you can also visit various caves on the way back from that. And you can also go to Nalanda, which was much later, the Buddhist universities that got set up for many, many thousands of monks for hundreds of years after the time of the Buddha. There's so much to do there. You don't need to go and find my acquaintance or any of my mates, whom I wouldn't even know whether they would be there or not at the time that you're going. So there's a lot to do there, and I hope you really enjoy your trip, and I'll be interested to know how you get on. So send me an email if you wish. So I have two separate questions. How do you pick up a monastery to become a monk? I know some monasteries do a lot of chanting and have less meditation. How do you know which one practices more meditation and Dharma talks? So you visit them. This is the only way you can do it, really. Now, the first criteria is location. If you have one near you, as I was fortunate enough to have one within an hour's drive of where I was living in the UK, spend your first as much time as you can at the monastery, going there, helping out, just being present, and you'll soon learn what it's like. Are you looking to ordain? Are you saying that? Do I need to keep visiting some until I find the right fit? Any recommendations? Well, yes. I mean, if you have the opportunity, and there is more than one. I had very little choice, but then I went to India and spent time in different monasteries of different schools, including Bodh Gaya, as we were just talking about, in order that I could ascertain that I was not just going with the first that I'd come across because of geography, but actually having done the research is how I chose Theravada Buddhism, and eventually chose my monastery for ordination in India, partly because I wanted this part of my life to begin in the land of the Buddha, where he set out. Even though it's not a Buddhist country, they have access to, and I knew of the Mahabodhi Society there. And also at the time was during the COVID or difficult times to travel, when it was necessary that I had suitable places to stay, and there were the facilities there. So all kinds of manners of conditions will come up. As a result of your own karma, you will have the causes and conditions that you've put in place. There will be pachaya, there will be these vipaka, these results. You'll end up somewhere. I didn't really choose. I can't remember thinking, I'm going to choose this one. It just so happens. It happens that way. Let it be natural. Let it organically just work itself out. So as far as recommendations are concerned, we're all so different. So no, I can't recommend any particular. And I don't know your own background. You do say, when you mention the chanting and less meditation, that's perhaps something you're not inclined towards. Put all of those preconceived ideas aside for now. Whatever the monastery appears to be like, you won't necessarily be getting to just do a lot of meditation. You may spend years cleaning or cooking, or as a layperson digging and gardening and all kinds of things. You're going there to let go of self. You're going there to be told what to do. This is the training. So it doesn't matter what goes on. As long as they're following the Noble Eight, well, they will be, the Noble Eightfold Path, and you have the opportunity, you can make it known that your preference is towards meditation, and they will facilitate that. But you will have many other responsibility for the first few years, at least 5 years really, even after ordination, before you can just sit and meditate. If you just want to sit and meditate, you can do that at home, no problem. Simplify your life, reduce your costs, and practice meditation. This will be an option. So I think anyway, I've spoken about that many times before as well. It kind of depends where you are though, doesn't it? Okay, so so someone asking me if I could share my insight on one of the shorter connected discourses, the Ogha Tarana Sutta, crossing over the flood. Okay, we don't call it that in the Pali Canon, in the Theravada tradition, it's called something else, but crossing the flood is, so you're saying that you've been thinking about it for some months now, and you feel you understand what it's getting at, but I'm hoping some outside input could help bring clarity or dispel doubt. I shouldn't dwell too much on one sutta, especially for months, unless it rings true straight away. Resonates, yeah, okay, good word, but it doesn't make sense. Read something that does. That's what I'd suggest. But really, this is also can be equated, it's crossing the flood. It's like I just said, the Buddha crossed the actual river, not a metaphorical river, to get to Bodh Gaya. But we also have this sutta, and I've forgotten the Pali name for it, but this sutta, Crossing the Floods. This is towards enlightenment. It is where he turns on, someone asks him, and he explains that he's neither going forward, he's neither going backwards, nor is he standing still. Now this, in essence, is a paradox in that, well, you've got to be doing something, but that's the whole point of the paradox. In meditation, as I was also just saying, it's not doing nothing, but it's not actively doing anything at all. It is doing no things. It is not thinking about things, but if you are, just allowing it to happen until it stops, not trying, but to just settle. And in the Angulimala Sutta, when he's being chased by Angulimala, the Buddha, it's a very similar paradox that he sets down for Angulimala, in that he cannot be caught by Angulimala, and Angulimala asks why he can't catch him, why do you keep going? And he says, I stopped a long time ago, it's you who haven't stopped. So it's a similar paradox. It's essentially saying, in order to become enlightened, we have to just stop doing things. So I've been trying to settle for many years in one place. It's been quite difficult to find a suitable place. And I'm coming up, having been nearly a year here now, finding that this is the longest place I've been in one dwelling, in one place, for many years, in fact. The last time was when I was a lay person living in the UK, when I spent 3 years in a van on a beach. And that was prior to coming to India. That was, since then, I've been going from here, there, trying to find somewhere I could settle and just stop. And this is what we're trying to do in the practice, just settle and stop. And that's what that sutta refers to. It's just stopping. But I would say I don't elaborate on suttas. I don't read suttas. I think people can read them for themselves. I don't then go into the commentaries and deep analytical explanations of them, because I think you're more than capable, everyone is more than capable for reading for themselves and forming their own opinions, as well as there are absolutely bundles and bundles and bundles of people already doing that, monks already doing that, and written books about those subjects. But most importantly, there are the sutras in themselves that you can read, as you're doing, I'm glad to see, but then don't just pick one up and dwell on it forevermore. Let the ones that are simple not only resonate, but make clear what it is you need to see, because they're all designed on making one thing clear, and that is that there's suffering. That's all. And the cause of suffering, and that there is an end of suffering. That's all. And that's what all of the suttas are teaching us, and how to get there through the Noble Eightfold Path. And in this sutta particularly, it's about just stopping trying. And the longer you're trying to understand one sutta, you're not really letting go. You're wanting to get an explanation. There isn't supposed to be one in either of those particular suttas. A bit like a koan. There's no correct answer. That's the point. Okay, I would like to know what if, I think that's supposed to be, what an arahant experience, what if arahant experiences a physical pain due to a health issue? Know they have preference or to get rid of it. Sorry for the question is not an offensive one. You're really curious to know how the arahant's mind works. Okay, so it's not offensive at all. You want to know how arahants deal with pain. The Buddha is often heard saying, this is the Buddha, fully awakened being, that my back is paining now, Ananda. You carry on with the Dharma talk, I will go and rest. So the Buddha even experienced considerable physical pain right up until his parinibbana. That is final death, attainment of nibbana, not to be reborn into samsara again, and therefore be free from that suffering, both physical and mental. But pain, in this case, yes, is experienced by the arahant, the Buddha, the awakened being, just as much as the non-awakened. It's not the experience of it, it's how we deal with it, the reaction to it. Wishing it wasn't there and it was somewhat other way is wrong view. It is only normal that we have suffering. We understand there is suffering. If there is a cause that we can eradicate, so resting, as in the Buddha's case, would often do, to rest his back, which was paining, then this is what we do. If you can't accept that and you think it shouldn't be, then we haven't developed that understanding. That wouldn't be an arahant, but an arahant would accept it with equanimity and see it as a useful meditation object or a cue to perhaps rest and come back to meditation later on. To get rid of it is often going to remain, I think, even in the arahant's mind as a desire. Who wants pain? Nobody, especially an enlightened being whom is enjoying meditation would not wish for pain, but would reasonably and see this and understand this pain with wisdom, that it might not go away because you would like it to, it is your preference. But of course, given the option to be able to alleviate it, one would take that option. We are with these bodies until they physically die, and that is the same with an arahant or an unenlightened person. I'm a Sri Lankan Buddhist. Could you please tell me what made you be a Buddhist monk in Sri Lanka? What have you gained? What does differ from Buddhism from other religions? Okay, so I actually ordained in India, as I've just said, and I've come to Sri Lanka to visit firstly, but I've remained here because it's very supportive to my practice as a monk, in that I get the food given to me each day, and then I'm also provided by people online, like yourselves watching, from abroad, the rest of the requisites such as robes, shelter, and medicine when necessary, and that's all we need. The climate is suitable, and what have I gained? I'm always gaining each and every day, practicing, developing my mind and developing the qualities that we learn through the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path. The specifics of my own gains or attainments, if you like, we don't as monks generally discuss, but refer you to what you're gaining yourself from your own practice, and ask you if you have any shortfalls in that area to try and identify what it is that you may be lacking. So very often I find people perhaps maybe have an emphasis on charitable donation and giving, and keeping sila, moral virtue, and maybe education, developing wisdom of an intellectual nature, but do very little meditation, and don't then maybe seem to be gaining much, not as much as they would hope. Well, then I would say that's because they're not meditating enough, and they need to talk to monks and get advice as to how they could be finding time and making sure that they meditate more. or it could be one of the other categories that they're falling short of, which need to be developed. You need to be practicing both sila, moral virtue, samadhi, meditation, and panya, the development of wisdom. It's a balance, and this is practicing the Noble Eightfold Path. So what I've gained doesn't really matter. What you gain is what is important. What you can gain is what is important from the practice. What does differ in Buddhism from other regions? Well, Buddhist schools are different. It's not so much geographical. This is a Buddhist country, as is Thailand and as is Burma, whereas where I was ordained, India, is really not a Buddhist country, although it has a lot of access to Buddhism, being as where the Buddha came from and where there are the holy sites. The UK is not a Buddhist country, and neither are Europe and America. But these days we have access to teachings online, and there are monasteries, increasingly so, in all of these non-Buddhist places also. The difference is as much as what's the difference between one person and another. You can say there's so much difference between one monastery and another. The core teachings, however, of Buddhism, the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path, remain the same throughout all of the schools, both northern and southern, of Buddhism, Theravada, Mahayana, Zen, Vajrayana, Tibetan. It's what the Buddha taught, the word of the Buddha, that is the core teachings of the Buddha, that are the core teachings. What is added on additionally and culturally through geographical transition of these teachings as they've gone far and wide are optional extras. So then also tendencies towards more perhaps devotional practice in Buddhist countries, whereas non-Buddhist countries the tendency is towards more meditative, contemplative practice, meditation and understanding of the suttas, and less of the ritualistic devotional practice of religiously Buddhist countries. Create a video of your full day vlog routine. Okay, so as I started out saying, I included some extra videos about people I happen to already have, of people offering dana. That was partly because of this comment. I thought, well, I actually, if you put together yourself, you can see most of my day, with the exception of my own personal meditation, which I don't record because it's not really practical to do so. And there's nothing to see, of course. I mean, I'm sitting, you see me for 15 minutes every day, live, meditating. It's no different any other time, except perhaps it might be dark. Maybe not so many candles, and there wouldn't be a camera on. So you can actually put together most of my day looking through the channel's older videos of me on Pindapart, of me going from one place to another even, one country to another even, of moving into different kutis, different places within one country. It's all there, even how to put robes on, how I sit. It may not be in the day chronological order. And I agree, what you're saying, it would be quite nice to have such a thing, but I would need someone to come and do that for me, of course, because if I was filming it, making it, then I either wouldn't be in it, but I wouldn't be doing it. My daily activity isn't that. This aspect of it forms a very short, small part of my day, just turning a phone camera on and then turning it off again, uploading it, that's it. But if I have to continually take the phone around, setting up shots, making sure it's charged up and all of this would not be my typical day. It would be pretty fake set up thing. But if someone else was happening to want to come this way and do such a thing, they're very welcome to. With the only caveat I would say, it would have to be my actual day. I'm not going to put on a show. And my actual day, to a lot of people, is going to be very boring. So you could probably make the entire video of my actual day very short indeed. So exclude this talk and exclude the chanting in the morning, The rest of it, be interesting enough. You could make a good hour's worth of video of waking, a little meditation, chanting, going on Pindapata, coming back, receiving dana, eating my meal. All of these things were already here on this channel, but there's separate videos. Then cleaning up, doing maybe some just duties around the kuti here to keep it clean and working. Then maybe meditation, maybe resting, sitting, walking, maybe some reading, doing this talk, then evening time, having a cold drink or a cup of tea, then more meditation, more practice, and settling down for the night and sleeping and then waking again. That is about my day. Most of it's already on here, albeit in separate places. But if someone wants to come and help me with that, they can just bring themselves, they can use this phone, they can just snap bits throughout the day, and also they may enjoy the practice also, because there wouldn't be a lot to do other than position the camera somewhere. Okay, so I think we're not running out of time so much, but it's a short question. I say we're not running out of time so much because there is actually no time limit on this, but I try to keep them within an hour. If I just talk, it'll naturally last 40 minutes, 50 minutes. That's just the way it happens. But if I'm doing questions, as you've seen previously, I can go on all day because I quite enjoy answering your questions. Can anyone join you? Well, I've kind of just answered that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that you'd want too much. I'm not sure whether you mean by the question, can people come and stay here and ordain? You can't do that because I've not, I don't train monks because I'm only newly trained. You need to go to a monastery that is facilitated towards training monks, has accommodation, has monks ready and available to teach you and support you through your practice. But anyone can visit. Anyone can come, as you've seen here. I mean, they do. From all over, they can come to Sri Lanka, they can find their own accommodation and they can visit and they can come and meditate here. But depending on what you mean by can anyone join you, the answer's well, yes. But to do what? That I don't do anything differently if people are here than if they're not here. So that's it. I think that's sufficient for now. Until next time, be happy and stay well. Sukhi Hotu.